Hi, my question for Army on Gossip Girl. Who was the biggest diva on set?
Biggest diva on set of Gossip Girl.
Let me just say, that was a tough show to film. I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to.
Literally, you said, get me out of this.
It was also like, get him out of here.
Whose love interest were you?
Blake Lively's love
You
interest.
were?
Yeah.
Okay, well
Sounds
then.
like she was the problem.
It sure does, Chelsea.
No, that's not what I'm
That's
saying.
exactly what I was thinking.
Stand. She doesn't want her husband to take the stand. She doesn't want Taylor Swift to take the stand, nor do they want to take the stand. So if they came to you and just said, we will call this a massive misunderstanding, can we just drop it? Would you entertain it? Curious.
I mean, he was called a sexual predator, or are they saying he's still a sexual predator, but it's a misunderstanding?
You know,
Right. You are going to depose Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift, who else?
Hollywood is reportedly in chaos as celebrities unite to expose Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, accusing the power couple of allegedly scheming their way to fame. The scandal is escalating rapidly, with insiders from the Deadpool and Wolverine productions speaking out. Many accuse Reynolds of exerting an iron grip on set, dominating projects and overriding creative input. Cast and crew members claim he enforced a toxic "my way or the highway" approach, creating tension and silencing dissent. The backlash against the couple is intensifying by the day.
The woman who wrote the It Ends With Us screenplay, Christy Hall, said she turned in her script prior to the writer's strike. Then she rejoined production to give feedback during the editing process. She noticed that there were differences in some of the dialogue that she just assumed were improvisations. It wasn't until the premiere on August 6th that she found out, along with everybody else, that it was Ryan who had penned that dialogue. I need to know when this editing process was, because if it was during or right after the writer's strike, means it would have been written during the writer's strike. I can understand why Christy Hall wouldn't sound the alarm if the version of the film that she saw the new dialogue in, if she just assumed it was improv. But then on the red carpet, to find out along with everybody else, he actually wrote those bits in and potentially during the writer's strike. It's giving scab. Or am I misunderstanding? Someone help me do the math.
The backlash against Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively is turning brutal. Fans are dragging Reynolds online, slamming his alleged behavior as shameless and a total betrayal of Hollywood's trust. Meanwhile, Lively's past is resurfacing, and the receipts are piling up. In 2018, she was only cast to star in The Husband's Secret, yet she somehow secured an executive producer credit. But that's just the beginning. Small creators, some going back to 2014, are now speaking out, claiming Lively used their designs, capitalized on their work, and then completely ghosted them. The once adored image of Hollywood's golden couple? Dead and gone. Their carefully curated, cute, and classy act is falling apart. People are already speculating that Netflix might turn the unfolding scandal into a true crime documentary. And if you thought this was explosive, just wait. This may only be the beginning. Their long-rumored feud with Justin Baldoni was apparently just the appetizer. Behind their polished public personas, the pair are being accused of idea theft, false promises, and emotionally manipulative tactics. That funny husband, elegant wife reputation they worked so hard to build? It's not just cracked, it's in ruins.
I think the husband of the A-minus list actress knows exactly what went down on the set and just how much extra, unnecessary kissing and other activity there was. He will find out in Discovery. This is just alleged, obviously, but I think that we can use our context clues and assume it's about Ryan Reynolds not knowing about what happened between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively on the set of It Ends With Us. If this is true, okay, this is getting really messy. Just need one crew member that was there on set every single day to come out and give us the tea. I don't think anyone will, but I want them to.
We're talking real receipts here, testimonies from creatives, industry insiders, and even so-called friends of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And guess what? They're all painting the same disturbing picture. There's a lot to unpack, so grab your snacks, silence your phone, and settle in, because Hollywood's most beloved couple might just be the industry's most calculated scammers. And now, it seems, they've finally been exposed. But things didn't just get messy recently. Blake Lively's questionable choices go way back. Let's rewind to 2014, when some of you were still watching Paw Patrol. That's when Blake launched Preserve, her cringeworthy attempt at a lifestyle brand. The problem? It had zero clear identity. It sold overpriced candles, awkwardly rustic home decor, and random handcrafted items. No one really wanted. One journalist spent an entire article trying to define what Preserve actually was, and their conclusion? It was just a brand. A confused, hipster-inspired knick-knack shop marketed to millennials, with a luxury price tag and no real purpose. Unsurprisingly, it tanked by 2015. But when it all came crashing down, did Blake own up to the failure and call it what it was, a disaster? Not exactly.
Preserve, Blake Lively's short-lived digital ode to the South. He was going for Martha Stewart meets the pioneer woman with like a splash of goop, but what we got was Paula Deen. Paula Deen, if she was into $70 artisanal salad tongs. Anywho, unfortunately for Blakey, there wasn't much of a market for a lifestyle blog romanticizing the antebellum South. Called Preserve. What are we trying to preserve here, Blake? I didn't see her selling any jams. For many, there's something really troubling about a woman born and raised in Los Angeles who is enamored with the antebellum South. And to be clear, antebellum means before the war, the Civil War. And she thought that shit was so chic that she and Ryan had to get married on a plantation. Then, to be fair, they have both apologized for the plantation wedding and invested heavily in organizations that support communities of color. You can make a post on that if you like, but TLDR, if you got married on a plantation, I hope you're haunted by the slaves whose graves you essentially danced on. Toodle.
Nope, Blake didn't admit defeat. Instead, she insisted Preserve was simply ahead of its time and launched too early. But the receipts tell a different story. According to multiple sources, Blake wasn't just selling overpriced candles and rustic home goods. She was allegedly ripping off small creators to do it. Insiders claim she ordered samples under fake names, copied designs almost identically, and then ghosted the original artists without credit, acknowledgement, or payment. Cold by October 9th, Blake, then 28, was forced to shut Preserve down for good. The site had barely survived a year, having launched in July 2014. When Vogue interviewed her about the brand's swift collapse, she tried to put a positive spin on the failure. Blake claimed she simply didn't want to continue with something she and her team weren't proud of. Her official explanation? We launched the site before it was ready, and it never caught up to its original mission. It's not making a difference in people's lives, whether superficially or in a meaningful way.
Here is a new blind item that is allegedly about Blake Lively's new hair care line, Blake Brown, failing immensely. Apparently, a hair care line and a movie about DV is not a great marketing twofer. The new line of the A- list actress is bombing. That makes her like 0 for her last 6 when it comes to establishing a brand. And again, this is allegedly Blake Lively and her new hair care brand, Blake Brown, and it is comparing her past brands, Betty Buzz, a line of non-alcoholic drink mixers, Betty Booze, a line of alcoholic canned cocktails, and Preserve and Gifting, kindness and gifting advice. And the related headline reads, "The Blake Lively backlash was a long time coming." The drama surrounding It Ends With Us seemed to be some of the biggest entertainment news this week, with Blake Lively catching a lot of heat for her conduct during the press release for the film and some problematic past actions.
Just when you thought Blake's sticky fingers were only swiping from Etsy shops. Plot twist, there's another alleged scam, and this one involves scripts. This next bit falls into that Hollywood whisper category, never quite hitting the mainstream gossip cycle, so take it with a grain of salt. But if it's true, it's messy. Back in 2017, Blake was tapped to star in CBS Films' thriller The Husband's Secret. That's when the drama reportedly began. An indie screenwriter came forward online, claiming her original script had been floating around Hollywood for years, only to suddenly reappear, heavily reworked, as the very film Blake was leading. Coincidence? Maybe. But the timing raised eyebrows. Strangely, the major entertainment outlets, Deadline, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, didn't touch the story. At the time, calling out A-listers was practically taboo, especially when they were riding high in the industry. Which might explain why this one flew under the radar, but here's where things really heat up. An old interview recently resurfaced, showing Blake casually bragging about taking over creative control from directors and producers, as if hijacking someone else's project was cute or impressive. And just to double-check the facts, yes, Blake wasn't just starring in The Husband's Secret. She also managed to attach herself as an executive producer. Convenient, right? Anyone familiar with Hollywood knows that executive producer can sometimes be just a vanity credit, a way to flex industry power without actually doing the work. And while there's no smoking gun tying her to that screenwriter's claims, the story fits a shady pattern that many have been calling out for years. Blake profiting off other people's ideas. And if there's one place where this behavior was truly visible, it was on the set of Gossip Girl. Her very first alleged victim? Penn Badgley. Word is, before Penn even had time to settle into the cast, Blake was already working behind the scenes, turning people against him. Not because he'd done anything wrong, but simply because she didn't like him for weeks. Cast members reportedly gave Penn the cold shoulder, only realizing much later that he was actually a decent guy. But by then, the damage was done. The real twist? Despite all the behind-the-scenes drama, Blake and Penn ended up dating for 3 years, only for her to break things off and jump straight into Ryan Reynolds' arms, like none of it ever happened. But the plot thickens. After marrying Reynolds, Blake's Hollywood influence skyrocketed. And guess what? Penn Badgley's career started to nosedive. Industry whispers say he was quietly blacklisted.
Why?
Allegedly, because Blake wasn't cool with him anymore. Sound familiar? It should, because the same pattern reportedly played out with Justin Baldoni and the It Ends With Us cast. After Justin leaked those spicy messages from Blake, fans started connecting the dots. The theory? Blake caught feelings for Baldoni, and when he didn't reciprocate, she retaliated. And just like with Penn, Blake's co-stars from It Ends With Us, Brandon Sklenar, Chris Glennon, and even author Colleen Hoover, have all been keeping their distance from her lately. The cracks in Blake's carefully polished image are starting to show, and Hollywood is finally taking notice.
You Team Blake or Team Justin? He said, I don't speak English, Gail.
Team It Ends With Us.
It Ends With Us star Brandon Sklenar playing Switzerland when it comes to the drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
It's unfortunate that things get taken away from what the ethos of that thing is, and it gets convoluted. And I just want to remind people of why that thing exists in the first place.
Atlas.
Lily Bloom. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
She has a really amazing ability to make people feel really good.
Allegedly, those closest to Blake Lively have finally connected the dots and realized they were being played all along. Oh, and if you missed it, I already did a full breakdown on how Penn Badgley publicly hinted that Blake sabotaged his career. So, if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. But now, let's talk about Leighton Meester. Because if you thought Penn had it bad, just wait until you hear how Blake allegedly did Leighton dirty. On screen, the two played best friends. Behind the scenes? It was oil and water, total opposites, and definitely not friends. And one thing about Blake? When things don't go her way, she pulls the gender card like clockwork. According to Gossip Girl executive producer Joshua Safran, Blake and Leighton were friends, but not friendly. Translation: they couldn't stand each other. And if you've ever seen their press interviews, the tension wasn't subtle. It was right there, thick enough to cut with a knife. The icy stares, stiff smiles, and awkward silences said it all. And then there's Armie Hammer, who briefly played Gabriel on Gossip Girl. While he didn't go full tell-all mode, he did strongly imply that Blake was the reason he exited the show early. And honestly, at this point, who's surprised? Now, let's talk about one of Blake's most notorious behind-the-scenes fallouts, her clash with Anna Kendrick during the A Simple Favor press tour. That was a circus. Reports say the tension between them was unbearable. One of the film's producers even admitted Blake was impossible to work with. And instead of taking accountability, Blake allegedly flipped the script and accused Anna of stealing the spotlight during promotions. The internet's reaction? Girl, please. And if you're interested in how Anna Kendrick subtly but effectively shut Blake down, I already did a deep dive on that too. But just know, these are only some of the many receipts that have exposed Blake's problematic behavior over the years. But here's the kicker. Blake's skeletons aren't the only ones falling out of the closet. Her husband, Ryan Reynolds? His reputation might be even messier. From shady business dealings to on-set domination, several celebrities are finally speaking out, and the picture they're painting is not pretty. First up, Tim Miller, the original director of Deadpool. He was instrumental in bringing the first film to life. But once it became a massive hit, Ryan allegedly took complete control of the franchise, treating it like his personal playground. According to sources, Ryan wanted the final say on everything: scripts, scenes, tone, you name it. The second Tim pushed back, Ryan reportedly shut him down with a "my way" or "the highway" attitude. Tim eventually walked away from Deadpool 2 altogether. Later, he told Mental Health magazine, "I don't mind having a debate, but if I can't win, I don't want to play. And I don't think you can negotiate every creative decision." Translation? Ryan wasn't collaborating, he was controlling. And Tim wasn't the only one. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in the Deadpool films, had his own horror story. And unlike Tim, TJ didn't stay quiet. If you know TJ Miller, you know he speaks his mind, and he definitely had something to say about Ryan. He publicly revealed that working with Reynolds was so toxic, he walked away from a major paycheck just to avoid being around him. According to TJ, Ryan treated him like garbage on set. Not in a jokey, buddy-buddy way, but in a condescending, humiliating way that left no room for interpretation. The worst part? TJ claimed he never even knew what he did wrong. After some reflection, he landed on this. It was all about Ryan's ego. He needed to be the guy, the center of attention, and if someone else was getting laughs or recognition, it became a problem, and Ryan's power plays didn't stop with his male co-stars. Even his leading lady caught heat. Morena Baccarin, who plays Vanessa, Deadpool's love interest, was front and center in the first film, only to basically vanish in the sequel.
Why?
Rumor has it that a real-life falling out with Ryan led to her screen time being slashed. Some say Morena pushed back on Ryan's behavior or challenged a few jokes that didn't sit right with her. Whatever the case, she went from central character to near invisible. And in true Hollywood fashion, she wasn't just cut from the sequel's spotlight, she was iced out entirely. When Deadpool and Wolverine started dominating the promo circuit, Morena was nowhere to be found. No mentions. No red carpet appearances with the cast. At the premiere, she showed up solo, while the rest of the team smiled and posed around Ryan. That silence? Deafening. And if all this sounds familiar, it should, because this is giving major Blake and Justin Baldoni energy. Same pattern. A powerful Hollywood couple calling the shots, and anyone who doesn't play along gets played out. Let's go back for a second. Remember Blake's rumored drama with It Ends With Us star Justin Baldoni? After those private messages allegedly leaked, people started connecting the dots. The theory? Blake may have caught feelings for Justin, and when he didn't return the vibe, she flipped the script. Since then, co-stars like Brandon Sklenar, Chris Glennon, and even author Colleen Hoover have all been keeping their distance. Back to Penn Badgley for a second. This pattern of social manipulation tracks. On Gossip Girl, Penn was reportedly iced out by Blake before he even got a chance to settle into the role. Not because he did anything wrong, but because she just didn't like him. And years later, after she became more powerful in Hollywood, Penn's career took a noticeable dip. Insiders say he was quietly blacklisted. Same script, different cast, and now, the cracks in Ryan's lovable image are starting to show. He's spent years branding himself as the goofy, self-aware funny guy, but behind the scenes, multiple voices are emerging, telling a very different story. The kind where it's not all jokes and charm. It's about ego, control, and shutting down anyone who dares challenge him. While the media may still be catching up, Hollywood insiders are already talking. And what they're saying, it doesn't paint Blake and Ryan as the wholesome, picture-perfect couple they've spent years trying to sell. Instead, it's starting to look a lot more like a psychological thriller, with two leads who know exactly how to manipulate the spotlight. By the time this story finishes unraveling, you might never look at Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds the same way again.